Hello, we're ready to start. We have just a little housekeeping first, a few announcements that I need to make, and we're going to, this Ebertfest is dedicated to the memory of Haskell Wexler. And we're going to be seeing more about him later, but I just wanted to, I failed to mention that last night. And he's was, in addition to being such a great cinematographer, Haskell Wexler was actually one of my favorite people on this earth because he sincerely cared about other people. He did so much to help his filmmaking colleagues not have to work so many long hours. He fought for a lot of causes. I was at his memorial service in LA last week. You know, he passed away in December, but they had this wonderful memorial service for him at the Directors Guild. And his son, Mark Wexler, spoke and told the story of how, you know, Haskell came from this privileged background as far as money is concerned, and yet he always fought for, you know, the underdog. His father owned a factory, and Haskell Wexler called a strike on his own father's factory for better conditions for the workers. So anyway, he had a very, very beautiful memorial service. I also wanted to tell you, Guillermo del Toro said he enjoyed this festival so much, and I'm going to actually tweet the statement that he made. He said, at this festival, the audience is the gift. He said for a director to have an audience like this is great. And when I talk about tweet, you know, so much today is social media. So I actually encourage you, not during the film, of course, but I encourage you to tweet or Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest or whatever. There are some social media outlets I probably haven't even heard of. But for Twitter, we do hashtag Ebertfest. And if anyone takes photos out of the sculpture with Roger, then please upload them for us because we're trying to put together a page of photos taken with the sculpture. But anything else you have to say about Ebertfest, hashtag Ebertfest. I was told to remind you again about our East Lobby and that there are books for sale, not only Roger's books. We are very fortunate to have Matt Zoller-Seitz. He has a book, his Wes Anderson collection. I'm not sure which other books are out there, but please, in between movies, visit the East Lobby. And I'm also told that this year there is a map. I don't know if it's interactive. I haven't actually seen it yet. But they said there's a map that they're encouraging you to go stick pins in to sort of tell where you're visiting from. And I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do with it or whatever, but there's a map. Now, on with the program. I'm so very pleased to introduce the director who's coming out for this movie. I can't tell you how many times Roger talked about this movie and talked about this director and his brother. Michael Polish burst on the film scene at Sundance in 1999 with a film called Twin Falls, Idaho. It was hailed by the New York Times as a work with style, gravity, and originality to spare. He followed that success with Jackpot, and then the film you will see tonight, Northfork, which Roger called a masterpiece. A masterpiece. His other films include The Astronaut Farmer and Big Sur, with Stephen Holding as cracking the code of how to adapt Jack Kerouac for the screen. His most recent releases were Amnesiac and 90 Minutes in Heaven. Roger said that the Polish brothers made films that were like fairy tales or fables that put you in this dreamlike state that gave you a vision of what life could be for some people, or what life was like, maybe even in an alternate reality. And he also said that he just found them to be very authentic people. Please help me welcome the authentic Michael Polish.
Hey there. I don't usually introduce my own movies. I take it sort of like Guillermo del Toro said, it's torture. And it's a torture that we do by ourselves, maybe at a local bar, which I've already spotted. So if you don't like this movie, it's too long, I'll be there. And I'm drinking a Buffalo Trace bourbon. And you can criticize when I'm there. This movie was this was the first screenplay I wrote with my brother, probably mid-90s. It was the third movie we got to make. And it was a very, very labor of love. I hired my dad to build the sets, and there was a lot of family members that gave their blood, sweat, and tears. We shot it in Montana, where my father's from, and we went to the High Plains to really scope this landscape out. And it premiered at Sundance in 2003, and I remember we showed up there and not quite sure what people were going to think of it, and it was Eccles, and the Eccles is quite the biggest theater up there. And when the movie finished, it was silence. Not a lot of things were going on. And I remember looking back, and as the director, I take the first bullet, and I come out, and nobody says, and I see this figure walking all the way to the back, down the aisle, up the stairs, and it's Roger. He's the first one to move and come to the church. He goes, haven't seen anything like that before. And he goes, let's have breakfast tomorrow. You ready for breakfast? I said, you bet. Welcome. Thank you for showing up.